And so like being in the dark is this gateway to just the primordial space. It's just vast, timeless, and seemingly nothing's there. It's like people like there's just nothing that's happening. But most of us don't have much of a capacity, aren't developed in the way to really attune to what seems like nothing. Because it also, in our enculturated way, there's just no reason to. It's not going to feed anything back. But when someone really starts to slow down without an expectation or agenda of getting something or having something to show for themselves, which presses into so much of how we're structured, there is a lot that someone starts to discover. And it is in the softness that someone finds nurture, that someone discovers safety and a sense of wholeness and a sense of intimacy with themselves and with the dark, that it really opens into something new. But it's not really what people thought it would be, and it's not really what we would typically ever find to be fulfilling. And when people really drop, they're like, I don't know how I'm going to share about this because it's really nothing. I mean, it's fundamental, but it's not anything that somebody would like really understand or would even really think would be like, yeah, that was cool. You relaxed and found the deep
Mm-hmm.
peace. But like, did you slay any dragons? It's
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of like, but did anything happen? And like, it goes back to people who have had visuals. Many people find them just distracting because they have found something so unbelievably comforting and wholesome in the seemingly nothingness that those visuals kind of draw them out. And they're like, that's not the stuff that really produces meaning. Like, I've found something that's like a new ground that isn't conditional to what's happening. It's kind of like where I actually am when I'm all stripped bare.
So subtle and yet so profound. The woman and the man the woman came in from what, and this is like archetypal. There's, she'll remain anonymous, but there's probably like a theme of different types of people. But she was like, and you could go into the details, but what I understood, she was like a shaman, like spiritually trained, deep meditator, done, done the peak experiences, and she was really resistant because she was like, how come I can't do this? And then there was like other archetype of a Wall Street dude. And so explain the juxtaposition of the two,
Sure.
because I think it's so fascinating. It's the perfect example that I heard going in to prepare me, like, okay, let all expectations of, I even think I said in the car, we chuckled, like, I've done so much work. I'm like, God, famous last words. And then I'm the one like scratching on the walls.
Yeah. So, and I'll touch on the Wall Street guy, but there's even another guy who like really juxtaposes her in a really incredible way, who cracked and allowed himself to come out. And so with her, she facilitates lots of plant medicine ceremonies. Um, she wasn't new to spirituality and spiritual experiences. And when she was in there, she wasn't able, which most people just aren't, but like it's in the admitting that I can't do it that somebody begins to find that it doesn't happen through your will. There's another part of you that can do it, but it's not how we're used to doing something difficult. Like when we do things difficult in the world, the harder we press in, usually the better results that we get, and that's how we get through it. But that doesn't work in the dark, doesn't work in childbirth. Like there are some things where you just have to soften and surrender. And but it's kind of counter to how we
Mm.
move. And so she was having a really difficult time and really dysregulated. And she was able to follow the invitation to come out, but she would come out with her mask on, which is fine. Some people do that, but some people do that because it's a movement of nurture. And other people do that because they don't want to actually just come out. Like if they really follow the movement of nurture, they might go for a walk. But like this was as good as she was able to do within the kind of the fallout of her just being like, I just can't do it. But she was still grappling with that and not really able to really fully bring the nurture of just like, I feel like a failure and I feel like I need to just keep at it and keep trying. I can't believe that I can't do this. And then kind of through that, she stayed in. She did decide to leave a day early, but she did leave with more of a sense of defeat. And because there wasn't a really landing in, like there wasn't a real landing in, I actually just can't do this. It was like, I'm going to keep trying through this willful way. And so because of that, there really wasn't access to the part of her that was just here and able to just really honestly land in where she was, like admitting that like, I can't do this, as opposed to I can't, but I'm gonna fighting around that I can't. I'm gonna keep trying. And then there was this guy who came, not much spiritual history. I don't know if he's ever meditated, like not coming for a big spiritual quest. It was just, he had seen the videos. There was something that sparked a curiosity. And a lot of people are coming through that way now. Like, it's not like they're not on this spiritual mission. It's more this like seeing the authenticity and the vulnerability. And they're just like, well, what is that? Like, I want to feel like that. I want to see what that's like. He came and he was classic type A entrepreneur, really strong, capable man. On the ride in, I was just sharing of like our orientation and the support. And he's like, you mean people go into like survival responses and don't know it? He's like he's just like, first of all, I'm not going to go into a survival response. And second of all, if I did, I would know what's happening to me. But he had a flavor of sincerity. Like it wasn't a total, like, I've got this. I think if he had the spiritual element, he may have been a little bit even more hardened because he'd have those tools to try to manage. So fortunately, he didn't have that. And he got in there and he really took us in. He really took Adrian in. And so it seemed like he had permission to weave in and out, which a lot of people are like, yeah, I'll come out if I need to. But they're not really aware of the thing that's underneath it, where they're like, but I'm certainly not going to. But they can't even hear that voice, but it's kind of clear that they're still not going to, even though they really hurt us. We weren't sure about him. And then in the, I don't know if it was the first day evening or the second day morning, I went up and he had really dropped for a little bit. And then the pressure really mounted. And he was like, whoa, like, I'm so tense. My body's so tight. I can't believe I can't down-regulate myself. Like, he was so upset with himself, so ashamed that he wasn't able to do it. But he didn't have the whole spiritual story of like, I got into all this work to be able to do it. I have all these tools. He was just like, but he did feel like a really capable human in the world. And so he was just like, I can't believe it. And I said, in some way it was like, it sounds like you feel afraid. And he's like, yeah, I guess so. I am afraid. And then the moment he said that, he's like, whoa, my whole body just relaxed. And then somehow we got into something about lonely, and he's like, yeah, and I feel lonely. And then again, he's like, whoa. And within like a minute, he's like, my whole body's relaxed now. And all he did was admit, I'm afraid and I'm lonely and I can't do this. And then I was just like, whoa, like, so what's happening now? He's like, I feel so relaxed in the space.
I'm like crying. I don't know why I'm emotional. That's amazing.
And it was amazing for me to just witness like how much that honesty just softened him and makes someone actually available. Like, we think if somebody's like, I need help, like, no one's usually armored when they say, I need help. I need help comes from a broken place, but it can also just come from a really soft and receptive place. And there's something in our system that softens when we're able to admit, I need help. And that's what we find all the time. Like, no one finds their way in the dark by like this, I've got it, and they're doing it. And that's why, not all the time, but typically a lot of the spiritual history in us all has us feeling super capable, which is great and it has its place. It's not to write it off. But when we move through the unknown, there's a different part of us that moves through it that isn't how we typically move.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started to soften. And from there, I said, so what about like exploring coming out tonight and seeing the stars? And we had a conversation around it. And he's like, if you asked me a few days ago if I cared what people thought about me, I would say, I absolutely don't care what people think about me. And he said, I can't believe it, but I actually really care what people think about me. And if I come out and everyone's going to ask me how it was, and I tell them I came out, they're going to think that I failed. And I can't believe I care about that. Like the layers that were getting peeled back for him. And he had like a real honesty in it all. And so he ended up coming out for a little bit, seeing the stars. I came up the next day and I said, what was it like? And he said, I came out for like 10 minutes. And then I felt so much shame that I came back in. And so we really unpacked that. And the invitation was, go out again tonight, but don't come back in until you really want to. And one of the things that we witness in there is there's this sense of like, I should be in here or I could be in here versus I want to be in here. And when somebody really lands in, I want to be in here, there's something that obviously really settles. And kind of the animal in us that's like alone in the dark and scared, when it genuinely has permission to come out, whether it comes out or like at the core, it can, it trusts us to tend to it. And so in the pressure of the dark, it relaxes more. Like it knows that it's not trapped. And that we have found to be like really essential to someone genuinely dropping in the dark. Mm-hmm. And so that next time he came out and he didn't go back in until he actually wanted to. And he found that when he was back in, it picks up right where it left off, so to speak. Like the dark is still right there. It doesn't really care what happened. Yeah.